Hey, good morning. My name is Andrew Whitus at OhioNet. And also Heather, she was there momentarily. She's now gone off for camera, but she's also joining us and kind of helping today. This is going to be again, we've been doing other presentations around this topic that were kind of interactive. Don't worry about that. If some of you came to those or did not, you don't have to talk today. So there's no discussion portion for this. And this is basically just kind of, it's the learning loop. We're kind of closing what we've learned over the past couple months. So again, the Ohio Library Worker Wellbeing Survey, again, just a little bit of background for those of you who may need it. OhioNet started this. We did the survey. We opened it up at the end of September during OLC conference. Michelle Bradley and Jillian Tuttle did a presentation there about well-being and talked about the 6 PERMAH pillars, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And at the end of that presentation, which was the last day of OLC, is when we opened up the survey to all people working in Ohio libraries. We did not care what library, what your role was. We did not care what type of library you were. We just wanted to know what was happening in Ohio libraries. Again, about well-being. We then continued and talked about this at OMELMA, which was in mid-October, and then we finished and closed the survey following the ALAO, Academic Library Association of Ohio conference, which was at the beginning of November. So it was open well over a month. And the idea was, this is our first time doing a collection to kind of see, again, get a sense for what the well-being of library workers are, and hoping to guide some of our programming. And based on the survey, and also based on our own process internally, because we did this first, we then went into a little bit more of a debrief on each pillar following the survey, and we invited library staff. Didn't matter. Again, we had 6 different days starting in December going into January, where we invited people to join us and talk about one of the specific pillars, and we captured some information, and that's what we're going to share today. So again, the PERMAH survey, the PERMAH model is based on the work done by Dr. Seligman, who started this in the 90s. He is still teaching at the University of Pennsylvania. And again, this is all based on these pillars of well-being. And in essence, this is just kind of a dashboard. This is not, you're probably never going to be 100% scoring high in all of these, because we're alive and we're interacting with people and we've got situations and things change. But the idea is, this is just, again, the concept of PERMAH is to kind of get a reading, a snapshot on where we are in time as an individual. And again, the survey we deployed was the workplace survey. So not only us as an individual in our workplace, but our team, the questions you answered. If you took the survey, how are we feeling about our team, and then about our organization overall, so our library. So you're going to see 3 numbers here in a minute. But again, the pillars are positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, accomplishment, and health. So just also a quick reminder, I'm not going to go through the entire debrief of the survey. We already did that back in November. If you go to the OhioNet website and go to the pretty much any page on our website towards the bottom, you have a link to all of our social media sites. We have a YouTube channel, and this is where we store some of our recordings. So you can go and view the debrief of the survey, which Michelle did back in November. I'm just going to focus on, again, the pillars and what we've learned since the debrief, again, and these conversations we had in December and January. As a kind of reminder, we had about 350 responses over that month, and you can kind of see how these broke down. Majority of the people taking the survey indicated they were at public libraries, which is not surprising. We had about 62 coming in from academic, 22 from K through 12, 20 special, and then people selected other. We don't know exactly why or what that is, but that was an option we gave them, and that was what they selected. So you can kind of see that this is really coming heavily from a public library perspective, which again is not bad, and that's not surprising since the majority of OhioNet's membership is public libraries. And we also again made a big effort. This was coming out of OLC, so again, I'm not surprised that we had a lot of people responding from public libraries. Just to remind you again, if you did attend Michelle's debrief, you're going to see these. This is the rubric, or this is kind of the how the scores are presented on the survey itself. So again, if we're scoring in these PERMAH pillars 76 or higher, then that's considered exceptionally healthy. But again, kind of just a reminder that if you were consistently scoring 100 on all the pillars over and over again, there is, again, based on some of the science, because this is again a tested survey, that people might be lying or maybe exaggerating or not feeling comfortable and telling exactly what's going on and feel like compelled to answer a certain way that's in a positive. So again, we hope people are answering these in an honest way, but probably not everybody is going to be receiving 100 on all 6 pillars all the time. Again, this is a snapshot based on how you were feeling the day you took the survey, and who knows what's going on. You could have had a bad interaction with a coworker. You could have an interesting interaction with your spouse or partner. It could have been an interesting time on the desk or out in the stack. So whenever you took the survey, those kind of all, again, just those interactions kind of played into how you probably responded. Generally, we're looking for 70 to 75. Again, this is the healthy average range. So when we look at numbers, we're hopefully in the 70 to 75 range. If we see 60 69, that's a little bit lower than where we want to be and may require some attention. We'll just have to see again if we get that number over time. And if a number is below 59, then that is probably a call for action. We need to do something because the person is struggling and there's a challenge there. There's a lot more data, again, that the survey collected and presented. Michelle talks about that in her debrief, and you can review that again on our YouTube playback. I'm not going to go through everything. Again, I'm just hitting on the pillars themselves. So starting off positive emotion, and again, this is giving you responses at the me, the individual level, the we, the team level, and the us, the organization level, or for us, the library organization level, the one you work in. So right now with this, we're just focusing on the me level, the individual level, because that's where we ask people to show up at when they had these conversations about, again, the pillars. So during these conversations, we asked 3 questions, and we had, again, depending on how many people are involved, we had maybe a little bit more conversation in groups before we actually had like kind of a share out. But at the end, regardless, we did capture some promising practices, or at least what some people are doing at their local libraries, and that's what we're sharing today. Before I get into these, again, as I go through, I will, again, on each of these just share. So this positive emotion is the one, the 57 is the pillar that overall library workers are struggling in Ohio. So this probably is not, again, coming from a dominant public library perspective, is not probably surprising. This requires attention. Again, what this really means based on how people answered is there are a lot of feelings of anxiousness, nervousness, perhaps upset. So again, there's a lot of people are not necessarily feeling very positive. Again, positive emotions are what are kind of listed on this picture: gratitude, serenity, pride, inspiration, awe, joy, love. Hopefully you experience this throughout your day, but at least in the workplace as an individual, when we took this survey, people were not there. This is the lowest pillar, and this is the one that again we probably need to do some more programming around, and maybe talking more about not only at OhioNet level, but also hopefully you talk about at your level at your institution. So when we did the debrief on this, we really kind of focused on what are some things that people are doing right now at their libraries to perhaps bring those numbers up. And this is kind of the concept of how can you introduce these jolts of joy. Again, these are just many little suggestions of what people could do in the workplace to maybe bring about somebody feeling a little bit more appreciated, or again, trying to build up those positive emotions. So things that came out were, some people are saying, well, as long as you're able to freely express your emotions in the workplace, you're probably more likely to maybe have a positive emotion. If you feel you can't really be yourself or express freely, you got to be on guard, then that may hinder people wanting to, again, display positive emotions. There was also this, we need to acknowledge in what others are contributing to the organization. We can do that at meetings by calling out accomplishments, and this comes up in other pillars as well. There's ways, again, somebody suggested that, the water cooler moment to share a positive experience. So, you go into the coffee room or the break room and you're getting a cup of coffee and you see somebody there, you can engage just in a polite conversation with somebody, and maybe that improves how they're feeling that day. Somebody suggested that, sometimes they feel that maybe administration doesn't understand what's happening out in all the branches. So, if you're in a leadership role, again, more probably a public library experience, but if you're able to get out and actually attend programming in the branches, programming happens all the time, weekends, evenings, and somebody said it'd be really great to see people there from their library administration, seeing what's going on, and again, feeling valued. And then making sure, again, that people across the system know each other. Again, a lot of this is coming from public libraries. So making sure that, if you're in a multi-branch environment, that there's a way for people to make connections and kind of know each other. And again, maybe it's encouraging visits. I don't know, but we didn't really get into that detail. Engagement, we had a score of 63 at the me level, individual level. That's okay. Again, we really want to be in the 70s, but individually, it's lower than ideal. What the data again showed here is that people are worn out by work. Again, I don't think anybody's probably surprised by this. Engagement, again, is engagement with your work. You're feeling, again, that you're there, you're present, you're enjoying it. But in a library situation, again, we can sometimes feel worn out. So we talked about what are some ways to avoid burnout, because that would be kind of perhaps, why people are feeling worn out. So some suggestions that people made during our pillar debrief on this was, actually, trying to encourage people to, maybe have meditation sessions. I guess some people are doing this either individually, or there are some libraries where, again, this is encouraged. And again, this is on work time. It's not necessarily you have to use your break. You could just go sit at your desk or go off the floor if possible and do something. To kind of, again, just kind of center yourself. There was a suggestion that there are some libraries where they actually have, evidently in their work area, they have some kind of crafting supplies, or they bring in whatever craft project they're working on, and they sometimes find time to work together on that. So again, it's a way to, you're doing something with your hands, you kind of, chill out a little bit, you let your mind go, and you're there working on something. And again, this might be at a coffee break time, but they're doing it as a collective group. Another person said, that they're seeing a need to do this. They're buying more resources and for their collection on self-care. Again, I'm assuming books, DVDs. It could be, again, probably both in a print and digital format. There was, again, a suggestion to perhaps have more training on project management, so that people felt that they could actually maybe do a better job of managing multiple programs and multiple things going on. There are, again, some libraries that are actually paying for a premium subscription to something like Headspace. So I know both Headspace and Calm do have discounts for employers, and some libraries are doing that. And one person said they found that to be very helpful for them. And then again, another idea suggested was, some kind of weekly fun assignment. So, again, it's something that's a little bit different out of the norm and gets people out of their routine and injects something a little bit different in there. This one actually could do a little bit more. Some libraries, and I'm going to guess this might actually still have been maybe more of an academic or special, but there were, somebody said that they still had the ability to do some flexible work and routine. So they said that, basically they didn't feel as burned out pre-pandemic because they were still able to go into the library to work some days, but then they were also to be able to work at home some days. So they felt, a little bit more of a work-life balance and not stressed out. If that's a situation or possible at your institution, that might be something to try. Trauma-informed training. And again, this person pointed out specifically the Ohio Department of Health has a number of materials on this. This is also a topic that OhioNet is starting to try to weave into our professional development programming. We had a webinar on this last month, and we're going to be planning one coming up, I think, in a couple months. It's not on the schedule yet, but look out for that. Again, meditation, stretching at the desk, having stress first aid kits for self-care. So again, I think that's probably like the squishy balls or some kind of activity to kind of divert your mind a little bit. And then again, somebody suggested having more training around navigating these, challenging situations. So again, role play, de-escalation training. That was a suggestion of perhaps some, again, of how to avoid burnout. Relationships. This one was one of our, again, a little bit better numbers. We had 74 at the mid-level, so this is healthy average. The one comment or the one kind of concept that came out of this, though, is that, again, people felt that they did a really good job of supporting others in the workplace, but they felt inconsistent support or receiving help themselves. So they felt that they were giving help, but they felt they weren't necessarily getting the help back. And again, I believe that was not necessarily at the individual level, but more they didn't feel necessarily supported sometimes at the organizational level. So we talked about how can workplaces encourage you to maybe make you feel that you're more supported. These are some of the suggestions that came out when we did this conversation. Somebody said it's really great because at my place of employment, they make it clear that there's no such thing as failure. There is always going to be an opportunity to learn. So if you feel that you have the risk to experiment and try new things, then you're encouraged to actually go out and do that. So another person kind of played off of that and said, so we make these mistakes, let's turn it into a learning opportunity. So those are kind of the two big things that came out of that conversation is, again, it's okay to fail, it's okay to experiment. If you make a mistake, let's learn about it and actually turn it into a learning opportunity and again, it's a positive. Another way is for workplaces to actually again, we're doing this, but do it in a more organized, systematic way, celebrating successes. Recognizing all staff and ensuring that even our support staff understand that their roles are essential. Again, when we had these conversations in December and January, we had librarians, we had staff at the desks who don't have a library degree, and some of them did say we still have this feeling sometimes of that there is this, again, break in people, and it's really the library would not operate if we didn't have all people there, and we need to recognize all the people doing the work to make the library successful. Again, playing off that, making sure all employees understand how their work contributes to library success, because sometimes, again, people express, well, I just do this task, or, well, we have volunteer pages, but they only do this. Well, again, our libraries would not be able to operate with all this work doing and people understanding that they really are valued and encourage them to do, again, the best job they do. Again, this comes from top down. So, administration and all the top managers have to kind of buy in to kind of help, again, get this support out there. Again, encouraging creativity on the job, just demonstrating kindness, and somebody actually said they actually have a random act of kindness day, and it's fun, and again, it reminds people again to encourage others in the workplace. And then finally, somebody said it's great if you can laugh at work, so try to make work as fun as possible because we spend a lot of time there with each other. And it actually makes the day go by faster if we're actually again having these strong connections with each other and doing well. there's a little bit more. Yes, we had a little bit more in this one about also playfully connecting with others. So again, with engagement. So giving shout outs on, again, both big and small wins, both publicly on our websites or internets at in-person meetings. Do fun non-related work together. So again, it could be the idea of a holiday, there's a gingerbread house decorating contest. One library said they actually have up there in a building that has ghosts, and they actually do ghost hunting, which I found very interesting. Again, some other institution, they do mini art contests. It's open to staff and the public. They display them, and then they get voted on. They get a best in show. Some library has done mini golf in their library. So again, showing general interest, asking how people are doing. Do you need any help? There was a library that said, again, kind of not the same one. I don't think they had the ghost, but they actually, I think this was an academic library. They invite students in, and it's around, I believe, probably Halloween. They do scary stories after dark. Share outside office activities on Teams. So again, pictures of your garden, your pets, your vacation photos. Encouraging creativity again, and then again remembering what employees are interested in and pointing those out if there are local activities and match. So that's a way to playfully connect with each other, and again, that's all wrapped up in engagement. Meaning, so this is the one that had the highest score out of all pillars from the survey, so 74. And I know the other one had a 74 too, but if you look across the board, both the me, we, and us, this is the one where we scored the highest. And this is not surprising. When Michelle talked about this in the debrief, she pointed out this is the one where, again, meaning is you're connected to something larger and your work makes a positive impact. And boy, do librarians and people who work in libraries feel that, or more than likely that probably is perhaps why we got into the work we did. This also then plays into that concept of vocational law, which again, there's a lot of literature research out there and topic, a lot of presentations on this, and we fall into this trap of we feel, you feel really connected to it. It gives you this really high, but then the vocational law can also create some challenges. So, it's good the numbers are high, but high numbers can also eventually mean that there's something also maybe not good. So we have to maybe watch out for that. So we talked about, even though our numbers were high, how can we encourage work-life harmony, work-life balance? Again, not not writing this high just to always feel this high, but realizing we do have lives outside of our jobs, and what can we do? So one institution said, well, their leadership encourages everyone to set work hours and Outlook. That's what they use for their handling system, and they respect that. So I think what that meant is that they don't try to force people to come to work early or stay late to go to meetings. They try to work around what those times are as much as possible, and also just kind of respect that these are the hours you're working in. Another example was their leadership encouraged the people that they report to use whatever time off they had available. Again, sometimes that includes both vacation time and personal time. I know at OhioNet we have both, and we have people who don't. Our vacation time can roll over, as most places can. Our personal time can't. We still have people who don't use their personal time. So we try to encourage people, if you've got time that's going to expire and it's there, please do take it if at all possible. Another example for, again, this work-life balance, take a break and walk away. If some situation's happening, it's challenging. Somebody said, they're encouraged if something happens to just, if you have the ability to, after it happens, go off the floor, go back to your office, take a little bit of time, just you're away from the situation, gives a little bit more clarity about perhaps what happened. But the point was, don't take it home with you. Whatever happened, if it was, again, whatever the situation was, not positive, just, go think about it for a minute and then leave it at work. Don't take it home. A big one, normalizing that it's okay to ask for help and say, I don't know. Because again, a lot of times I think people feel like, well, again, librarians, we know all the answers to all the things, or at least we can point you to the right direction. But sometimes you have to say, well, I don't know, and I can get back to you, and that's okay. And that also works also within our own work routines at work. And then use team meetings to set expectations and clarifying different perspectives on deadlines. This was somebody said that was an example where again, things are said and maybe people don't, again, we perceive things differently. So if you can use, there is some big project going on, it has a deadline, the deadline may not be really that set. There may be a little bit of flexibility, and somebody may be totally a little bit concerned or freaking out about it, and just say, okay, we have a little bit more time, so you're fine. Just again, making sure people understand what the expectations are, and you're clear on again, on those deadlines. And if there is a little bit of, again, wiggle room or not, so they know that that's there. Accomplishment was a little bit lower than our, again, ideal, about a 60. So basically people felt here that lower than ideal. There's an I missing there. Not receiving feedback was one of the things kind of coming out of this, and they also felt that they were overwhelmed by their work. So again, work support that, again, leaders can do is have that open door policy. This was recommended that somebody felt that, you know, their manager, they could go talk to anytime. They never felt that when they brought a question up that it was taken, poorly. They could go in anytime, ask a question, get feedback. They appreciated that. Another person said, they wanted to, again, they create ways to recognize everyone for the work being done, including the small things. Somebody said that it's helpful that their manager understands that sometimes external life things, again, impact our work. So if there, again, is some flexibility because something's happening that day, because again, of childcare or elder parent care, and I can't do something right now, but I can do it 3 hours later, that there was, again, that support there. Making sure that staff recognize for all the work they do, not just librarians. This has come up a couple different places, but the one point that somebody made in this discussion was whatever recognition we're doing, again, to highlight the accomplishments of our, again, staff, our direct reports, the people working in our libraries, our colleagues, we need to make sure it's authentic and sincere, because sometimes they said it comes across as inauthentic, like people are just checking a box. So we just kind of got to keep that in the back of our mind, that people can kind of tell if something is sincere or if it's just kind of rote, or I felt like I've got to do it. And then finally, the last pillar is health, or physical health. And then again, this was actually, this was one of our lowest ones too. So needing immediate attention. Again, people expressing here they were not feeling healthy when they were taking the survey, and they also didn't see their organization necessarily supporting their physical health well. So again, this is a challenging one because, again, health is personal. There's, people have choices, they make choices, they can do things. The organization can only do so much. The organization can try to support them. We had a conversation. This is what come out of it. So some institutions are able to do different things. And again, I totally recognize this is a challenge this is not going to be able to work for every place, but if you're able to do it, I would highly recommend your administration consider it. Some institutions are now starting to offer additional financial support to their employees to choose to be more active. So in addition to some kind of perhaps, obviously they're offering healthcare and other benefits, they're also offering some kind of actual money to their employees for a gym membership, a pool membership, yoga classes, dance classes, something that encourages them to be physically active. Again, sometimes it's built into healthcare programs at institutions. So at some institutions, at an academic institution, more than likely as a staff person working there, you already have access to a recreation center. Of course, it's probably primarily directed towards students, but you have time to use it at certain times of the day, or you have discounted prices depending on the size of the institution. That's not always the case at K through 12 or public libraries. So, but again, if you have the option, I think we're going to see more employers probably trying to do this going forward. And sometimes this even comes out in healthcare programs, that some healthcare insurance programs offer discounts for gym memberships. Again, it just varies. Again, we saw this come up before, but actually starting to add, again, self-care and wellness items to the library's collection. I think this one went a little bit beyond books and DVDs. This person said, they were buying, again, sensory items, again, to kind of, I think, just kind of offer a way for people to kind of meditate or kind of just get a little calming focus on, again, a break for something. But adding more things to the collection, it helps the community, but it also could help your staff. It's not on here, but when we did this internally for OhioNet, what came up for us is somebody suggested, because of our office space, we have a couple different small work rooms that can be reserved. And somebody said it would be really great if we had like maybe some small weights in there, or like a step or meditation mat, or a yoga mat. So if somebody wanted to go in and do something, they could close the door while they're in the office and do a little physical activity. So that's an example of one of the things we've talked about. Somebody suggested that you can partner with your local health organization. So again, a health department, a hospital, university department, or even the extension service to do monthly programming specifically for staff on, again, probably this is more on nutrition. So again, cooking, nutrition, that kind of thing. So that's an option. And I know some of us are already probably doing that. It's probably programming for our community, but we could also focus that or encourage staff to do that. And then finally, somebody else made the suggestion that their institution is being a little bit more proactive and actually doing a healthcare needs assessment, and then looking at the insurance that they're offering. And again, not every institution is going to be able to do this, but if you have the option, it may be something to investigate. Is that, are there major gaps? Because again, health insurance has changed dramatically. It's really expensive, we all know this, but they're also, the health insurance industry has changed and they're adding in more things as time goes on. And if you don't review your healthcare options, what you provide your employers, there may be gaps out there that you really could fill or provide for easily, and take some of that burden off of your staff. So I know went through that kind of fast. It's recorded. You can go back and look at this anytime. These were, again, the ideas that came up during those conversations. So what are we, OhioNet, doing now? So we've already added a well-being track to our professional development training program. So if you go onto the OhioNet website and you go to our training schedule, there is now, when you look at, you can actually view filters, and one of the filters we have is for well-being. As I mentioned, we had one a couple weeks ago on trauma-informed leadership. We're going to have another one coming up again. It's going to be based around trauma-informed, the concept of that. We've also talked about, it'll probably be later in the spring, early summer. We're going to be doing one about psychosocial safety in the workplace. So again, if you don't feel that you can share your concerns or voice your opinion or talk and actually, out loud, then that's affecting your psychological safety in the workplace, as well as there's also physical safety, of course. We've talked about that too. So there's these topics that we're kind of working on. We're going to also we've been doing this boosting workplace well-being workshop. So we've actually gone on site at library staff development days, and basically it's still based around the pillars, and it's kind of a mini version of what I just kind of talked about. We don't go through them all in depth, but we do have an opportunity for staff when we do these to kind of share their experiences and identify some of the things that perhaps that library might want to change if they're looking at actually, developing a well-being plan and what they can do. We're currently offering licensing and survey administration support for the PERMAH workplace survey. So that's what you did. If you took the survey, we call it the Ohio Library Worker Survey, but this is really the PERMAH workplace survey. It was developed by the Wellbeing Lab. It's been taken by numerous individuals and working in a variety of workplaces in multiple countries. It is statistically valid. And we have worked with them to basically get a little bit better pricing for libraries that want to do this as an organization. And we have 2 right now that we're working with that are doing this. If the libraries do go ahead and do the survey, then we can do a couple more things. We can actually do debriefs at the individual level, and we can also do a debrief at the workplace organizational level. And then we also have the ability to help you write a well-being plan. Like I said, we did this internally ourselves, and we're more than happy to share our experiences in helping you develop a well-being plan for your library based on the survey, if that's something you want to do. But looking into the future, what are we doing next? Well, when we know we need to do this, and I'm going to ask a question here in a minute, but we want to develop more workshops and perhaps on-site development day at workshops around well-being, and add more well-being webinars to our training schedule. So that's the plan. We're going to start building this out. We're still going to continue to talk about this, presenting about what we're doing both at statewide and national conferences. So this year there is an OLC is actually there because PLA OLC is not happening like it normally will. So we won't be doing that probably until 2025, but we will try to do something at OHIO and ALAO. And now we also are probably going to try to present at the Core Forum National Conference about the work we're doing. We're going to re-administer the PERMAH Workplace Survey in 2024 just to document changes, because again, this is a snapshot in time, just kind of curious, realizing totally that not the same people are going to be taking it. So this is not necessarily a tracking survey. This is just a snapshot of where people are and what we're seeing out there. We also would like to start doing something new for OhioNet, and actually that's conducting some research of trying to identify, again, these promising practices of what people are doing within the pillars. So actually start working with member libraries, drilling down into what you're doing, and then sharing that out with the rest of the membership, again, as these are examples of perhaps something you can do. And we've already started a conversation with the Wellbeing Lab to partner with them to develop a library-specific version of the Wellbeing Survey. And again, this is kind of interesting because if you're not aware of the Wellbeing Lab, that's Michelle McQuaid. She and her group there is based in Australia, and they work with, again, in a global audience. But she was a student of Dr. Seligman, so that's how she's got into working with PERMAH. But we have the relationship with the Wellbeing Lab because of the work that Michelle Bradley did with us, and we're going to continue to work on that, and hopefully we will be able to work with another library consortia organization, again, to refine and develop a survey specifically towards libraries. So hopefully that's coming in the future. But what I would like you to do right now, if you could, and I'm going to share this link in chat. There's also a QR code. So if you've got your mobile smartphone, if you can just open that up, and this is a 2-question survey. What well-being topics are you most interested in learning more about? Because again, we have an idea based on the data that's been collected from the survey, but we all know we like more data. So if you could take a moment to either click on that link and go to that Survey Monkey, it asks you basically, there's 2 questions, one's free text, what topics are out there. Just go put as many topics as you want, and the next question is how do you want to receive that? Would you like it to be an online webinar? Would you like to be an in-person workshop, or you don't care? It could be either. Those are the questions that we have. If you could do that, much appreciated. Just again, kind of wrapping up a couple things. So you want more information about everything I've talked about. Again, this will be recorded, posted on our website. But if you go to the training webpage right now, you can see what's upcoming, and the URL there, ohionet.org/training, will take you there. You can see our list of upcoming training, and that's also how you can access the training archive. As OhioNet members, you have access to the archive. So if you were not able to attend a training live, you can go back and you can access the ones that have occurred, so that Trauma-informed one we talked about is in the archive. And if you don't know how to access the training archive, or if you don't know if you're a OhioNet member, send us an email and we can help you out on that. And then again, if you're interested in licensing the Wellbeing survey or more information about that, that's actually through the consulting side. So if you go to ohionet.org/consulting services, you can get more information about that. Click on the link and say, yeah, I'm interested for my library, and we'll get in touch and talk to you more about that. So this is now, again, I appreciate everybody's time, but if you do have questions, this would be the opportunity to unmute and ask, or I see Megan's got her hand raised. So Megan, if you want to unmute yourself and talk, that's fine.
Hi there. I had done some trauma-informed seminars for OhioNet and also NeoRels. And one thing that came out of that was the topic of bullying in the workplace. Actually, some of my participants were actually almost afraid to ask the question. They went through anonymously because they didn't want their coworkers or their managers to see that they were asking about that. But it came out like in every presentation I did, which led me to think about, how maybe systemic sometimes bullying becomes, or the fact that it's very difficult for people to know what it looks like to deal with bullies in the workplace. So with I think one of the presentations I might have done for maybe OhioNet, I know for OELMA, I did incorporate some trauma sensitive communication suggestions. But I just wanted to add that my 2 cents to what I noticed from doing the webinars and the feedback I got from some librarians. Some actually contacted me afterwards and were asking me for assistance on, like, what was my suggestions and things. Of course, some of their issues were pretty complex and complicated, and I would think that there would be some interest in what I would term mediation, or ways for workers to have that information and have that knowledge and skill and build their skills and how to deal with not just difficult patrons, but also, working together, building a culture of teamwork. So anyway, my research is in trauma-informed care. And I do have a class that I offer in the summer. So it's just a 1 credit. So I do have a lot actually of the students who have taken my class are actually most of them are in Ohio libraries. Some are also in other institutions. It's trauma informed. It's like trauma informed principles for information professionals. But I just wanted to add that those might be good topics. I'm really glad and happy to see that OhioNet is addressing the well-being. I think the national research, and actually globally, the research shows that it's not just in information institutions that well-being it needs to be a topic, and really a focus, because without our workers, I don't think being able to perform at their best or feeling good about the work that they do, I don't think we're going to see some I think there's really some need for some changes. And I think that's not just, I don't think anybody ever sets out to do anything really bad. I just think that there's been the pandemic, there's been lots of upheaval in the world, and so I really appreciate that OhioNet is taking this. I really am interested in the well-being research that you all are gathering. That's very interesting, and I'm glad you're putting a spotlight on it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate again, the suggestion for the topics, and also, again, sharing, that you're excited about the kind of work that we're doing going forward. So other questions that people might have Again, you put them in chat, you can unmute yourself. And again, if you don't have questions, that's fine. And just another as a side, I think most people have again maybe heard about that we're doing this, but we currently also are doing can't talk today, a diversity assessment that's currently underway. So we hired 2 consultants, and they're currently working with a group of Ohio librarians. And again, the first pass is really kind of focused on librarians of color, but we recognize diversity as more than just race, but that's kind of how it's shaping up to be. The first round is how can we better support and retain librarians of color in the state of Ohio, regardless of what library they work in? And again, there is definitely a relationship between that and well-being. So there's going to be, I think, more of a crossover diversity type content will also be coming into our well-being tracks as well, which would probably be expected. So if you're, want more information on that, there's some information on the website, or you can contact us and we can put you in touch with the team that's working on that. There is going to be a couple opportunities, in-person summit in May. And also there's going to be another virtual one for the diversity assessment, where it's going to be basically an online, both in person and online, and it's going to be an opportunity for people to share their experiences, and also to, again, perhaps think about what could be possible and what we can actually do. So we're trying to, again, come up with concrete ways that we can support librarians of color currently employed in the state of Ohio, and hopefully help them stay in their jobs and thrive. So other questions people might have? I don't think anything came in on chat. I just gotta scroll back up. I don't think so. Okay, well, if you don't have anything more to share, congratulations. We were done a little bit before noon, so you've got a little bit of time. But I do appreciate you again attending this, and please do share if you've got ideas of training topics you want related to this. We're very interested in them, and and again, if it's a topic you feel really qualified in training, to offer a webinar, please let us know too, because we're always looking for people to teach, and our webinars, we do pay you to do that too. So it's not, we're not asking to volunteer. If you can do something for us, we will pay you, and hopefully encourage more people to learn about again, whatever that topic is. So I'm rambling now, so now's a good time probably for Heather to stop recording, and we'll say, have a good rest of your day.